this journey, that back to the grace that we're able to give to ourselves in the journey part. Um, it's the mothering the mother, like, again, like recognizing how much am I taking on that I feel like I need to put on my cape and do all the things without letting someone like help guide me, someone that who can I lean to um when I need rest, when I need reassurance, when I need whatever these things on, when I need my village. We talk about having a village for the kids. Like, I need a village. Like, I need to have my people, right? And so I touched on it just a little bit earlier, but I mean, really focusing on the fact that, like, when I'm good, when the mom is good, really everybody else is good. 9 times out of 10, like, when mom is taken care of, usually everybody else, like, we'll figure everything out. When I've had enough rest, when I've been able to tune in with myself, again, when I'm on my healing journey, again, I'm able to extend that grace to my child. I'm able to work on that patience. So really starting with us, I feel like we just like get so lost in the journey of mothering, like you lose you at the core of it. Like, some of the work that I do with mothers as I'm preparing them for the birth experience, I talk to them about stuff about like self-identity. Like, we do have conversations and do exercises around just like, where are you right now? Where are you at? And if you can't really tell me like the things that you're doing to, you okay? Okay. If you can't really, some of them can't even share with me the things that they're doing to nurture themselves, to make time for themselves before the baby's been there. I'm like, so what's going to happen now that you kind of in the trenches sometimes of motherhood? Like, how if those routines or rituals or ways that you are nourishing yourself weren't established at that time, we need to talk about that now, because now when you have this baby, it's kind of hard to like work that in or to kind of start it back up. So really, like, starting here first, like starting here.
In that heart space, right? Yeah, yeah. And I think too, I just want to chime in as well, Deja, in what you're saying, and say that, like, listen, y'all, like, doulas, right, like Jalicia said, get you a doula, mamas and mamas to be. Doulas can also be useful for after you've had the baby too. It's not just for before, because one of the things is we're always getting the question, how are you doing, right? But how often are we getting the questions, how are you sleeping, right? How are you eating, right? How are you resting at night? What, like, who's taking care of you? Who are you able to lean into and cry with, right? Without having someone try to fix you, right? Right? And like make it like you're broken and all of these different things. And so so I just want to, any of you sisters that are here listening, lean into your community. Who are those people that you tend to isolate from when you know you're going through it because you feel like you're a burden on them? Who are those people? Because they want you to call on them. They want you to call on them. And a part of our survival mode sometimes is feeling like we can't do that, or that we're a problem and that we need to figure it out all on our own. But naturally, we are designed to coexist with one another and to lean in on one another and to be in community. Like, it's a part of being human. And so reclaiming that humanity is leaning into your community. So Quincy, I want to ask you if you could share with us just a little bit more about how the experience has been different from baby number 1 to baby number 2. We know, like, we know that typically pregnancies are not all the same, right? so that's different. And also you have a completely new being, right? That's different from baby Coco. So please share with us a little bit about that.
Well, so with Coco, my pregnancy, it wasn't like the easiest. Like, I did have like a horrible first trimester with like morning sickness. And then my third trimester, like, she just started getting real heavy, was hitting on my sciatic nerve. So, you know, that was a whole thing. But in the end, I got the labor that I wanted. I really wanted to have a water birth. And I was very, very stuck on it from like the time that I was like 9 weeks pregnant up until I gave birth. I wanted to give birth in the tub. And I was able to do that with Coco. So this time around, naturally, because I had such a great experience with that, well, I wanted to do that again. So I, you know, went out of my way to seek out a birthing center, and I wanted to work with midwives. I never really got to work with a doula. I kind of waited a little too late for that, but I did, you know, have my midwives and everything. But then the whole cancer thing came, and even just, I remember like thinking back to like December and like early January before I was diagnosed, I remember like talking to my boyfriend, and I was like, man, I just don't feel good. Like I don't know what's wrong, and I don't know what's different about this pregnancy, but I don't feel good. Like, I was like, I don't know, like if it's because I'm older, and mind you, it's only been 3 years. Like, it hasn't been that long, but I just remember telling him like I couldn't figure it out. So then when I got diagnosed, it just made so much sense, like why I was so tired, why I never felt good, why this pregnancy just felt so much harder than the last one. It's because my body has been fighting itself. And so when I got diagnosed with cancer, all of my birthing plans, all of my, like, literally everything got thrown out the window. I wasn't able to have a water birth because now I'm high risk. I was not able to even, I risked out of care for the birthing center that I wanted to go to. You know, and this is, I'm in like, I was literally like 2 days away from my third trimester when I got diagnosed. So I've been seeing these people my whole pregnancy, and now I have to meet all these new doctors. I have to meet this whole new team. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to give birth in a hospital. I don't want to give birth with a regular OB. No, I don't want to get induced. No, I don't want to have an epidural, but I had to get induced. I had to have an epidural. And it was something, I remember like being in labor, because induction labor is very, very different than naturally, like your body naturally going into labor. Like, those contractions were hard. They were so hard. And I remember like crying while I'm in labor because I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I have to get an epidural. And that was the one thing that I kept telling myself, like, I don't want to do it. And I remember saying like, oh my God, I feel like a failure. And everybody in the room was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I just like had it in my mind that I had to do it with no medicine, no this. I'm like, I've done it before, but I had to remind myself, like, this is a completely different pregnancy. Not only is it completely different pregnancy, girl, you just got done with chemo 3 weeks ago. Your body is much weaker than it was 3 years ago when you gave birth to your first baby. And that's okay. That was like the start of me reminding myself that I'm human. And although I have these ideals in my head of what I want to do, sometimes it's not going to pan out, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And even breastfeeding, I breastfed my first baby for 20 months. And I, you know, there was times when she bit me, and, you know, sometimes it wasn't that fun, but I ultimately loved the experience. And I was really looking forward to breastfeeding. Well, with this one, because I had to do another round of chemo, I was only able to breastfeed her for 10 days. And I was like sitting in the hospital, like talking to every lactation consultant I could, talking to every OB that I could about, like, am I going to be able to breastfeed again? You know, trying to pump and dump and get rid of all this chemo milk, but still keep up my supply. And I think like 3 days into this most recent round of chemo, I was just like, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to pump anymore. I don't want to keep up with my supply. She's thriving on formula, and that's okay. Is it what I wanted? No, but she's doing okay. And like, I don't have to kill myself to try and force myself to breastfeed when it's just not the best thing for my mental health, and it's not the best thing for me either. I think ultimately the difference between my first and my second is that I've given myself a lot more grace. With my first, I kind of forced myself to do these things and uphold this standard that I made up in my head. Nobody was making me do this stuff. I was literally just putting all this pressure on myself because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But it didn't matter. Like, my kids love me just the same. My newest baby and my oldest baby, they both love me just the same, even though one was breastfed for 20 months and one only had 10 days. They don't care. She doesn't care. As long as she's fed, she's happy. And I had to realize that, like, that doesn't make me less of a mom because I can't meet these standards that I completely made up myself. Nobody told me I had to do this stuff. I made it up. And it's like, for what? Like, why am I killing myself trying to meet these impossible standards? Like, as long as my kids are good and my kids love me and I'm doing right by my kids, then that's all that really matters at the end of the day. And that's all that I can really do.
You getting all types of hearts in the chat, sis. Like, let's get it.
Look, it's been a long 2021 for me. And I think just this whole, and I understand, like, there's not going to be a ton of moms out there that may have gone through you know, pregnancy and cancer and all that stuff. Like, I get that. It's like kind of an anomaly. It's kind of just a different thing. But I think it's allowed me to just really look at motherhood as a whole and just be like, you know, a lot of the stuff that we put on ourselves is really stupid. And it's really, really unnecessary for us to put so much pressure on ourselves. Like, you know, at the end of the day, just ask your kid, like, hey, am I a good mommy? And your kid is probably more than likely going to say, wow, you're the best mommy. And oh my God, I love you. You feed me snacks and you give me cookies. And that's all they care about. They don't care that you buy them the most organic baby rattles and all that. They don't care about that stuff. We care, but they don't.
Right. Oh, yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. And I think that
Yeah.
that also, it just adds this piece of like, as you go along your journey, it's like, what kind of impossible standards are you holding yourself to? And then how does that influence the way your kids see you as they grow, right? So it's like, okay, how do I start to accept where I am and who I am and all of that right now so that they can also see that I'm role modeling full self-acceptance, right? And so that they can
Yeah.
practice full self-acceptance and they can accept me where I'm at. They can accept me for who I'm not, right? Because that's another piece is like feeling like we have to be all these things and feeling like it's wrong for who we're not. And the truth is that we're immaculate and unique, and the gifts and the strengths that we have is what sets us apart. And it's a beautiful thing that we have our own personal stretches and stuff like that too, because now the right people are going to come into our lives, you know, as long as we allow that to support us in those areas, and we can support them in the areas where we're strong too, right? So thank you for that. I think we have another sister who's going to be joining us here.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna
so,
step out. I'm gonna step out
okay.
so that she can have space because my thing about to die too, and I'm loving hearing y'all talk. So I'm gonna hook up my stuff, but I'm gonna step out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thank
all
you
of
for
y'all. It's
being
good to
here.
meet y'all.
Good to
Bye.
meet you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So, okay. So I believe we have one more sister who's going to be joining us. And I hope Geneva's not going to be like, Nyla, you were supposed to have this many more people in here. I'll be like, that'll be for the next one. But y'all, to be honest though, queens, like this conversation is so rich that whoever gets a chance to just witness this, they're gonna be super appreciative of what they did get out of it, because y'all are coming with some gems and some jewels here, and I'm just in deep gratitude as I'm learning as a new mom myself, you know. I'm like, I'm gonna be a new mom for the next 20 years. Okay.
I'm still
I'm a
in
new mom all the way
too.
through.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
So, okay, so we have one more sister. I think Max Simone is supposed to be joining us. So I'm gonna put in a request here and see if Max can join us.
I'm very excited to read Deja's story tomorrow.
Yeah, me too.
Let me just say, when I read Deja's story, I had to pause. I had to breathe. I had to rock. I had to hum. Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Like,
so excited now. That's what I needed to hear. I'm very excited to hear that.
so, okay. So I don't know if Max is going to be able to join us, but I did send a request. Max Simone, if you can hear us, send me a request if it's not working and I'll add you in. But in the meantime, we can take a few more minutes if you ladies are still available and expand upon what we're talking about here.
Sure.
So, yeah, and feel free to like, if you, I don't have to pose a question. Like, if you have something that's just on your mind now, since the conversation has been going, like, let us know.
I think I'm in that space though where I said this and I wrote something on International Women's Day. I don't know about you guys, but as Black women, this whole phase, or for them to see our humanity, they've created us to be some type of superhero. This whole Black girl magic. Oh, our capes. And I just want to live. I don't want to save nobody. I am not a superhero. I am not magical. I have no powers. I'm a human being. And I have nothing figured out. Let's take it even to a step further that just as you are figuring out life, I'm figuring out life. I don't have no gems. My oppression hasn't made me any more experienced in life. My dehumanization hasn't made me any more stronger. I am just as needing as love, as attention, of humanity, just as every single human being on this planet. And I don't know why, for some reason, now that I'm a Black mother, I don't know why they think the cape has gotten heavier or my magic powers have, but no, I'm now struggling with someone else who's struggling. So there's double the struggle. Okay? There's double the struggle. I now have not only do I have no more answers, but there's someone else looking at me for answers. And I now have to figure it out for that person. And that's all that matters to me, not the world, not Black women, not Black people. I've even put myself that much more in a space where my only sole focus is figuring out the world for me and for my child. And I don't know why, as Black women, the world won't allow us or give us that grace to be human beings, to make mistakes. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I'm going to get things wrong. And for me, that is what I want to teach my child. That's what matters to me, that through him seeing me figure out life, then he'll understand and have the grace for himself and for other people around him to figure out life. He's not going to expect anything from anybody. Maximum, hey.
Hi guys.
Good,
How are
good.
you?
Sorry, Queen, please feel free to like finish that off, because you're onto something real right here.
I'm at that space, and I've loved that Quincy has given light on her story, because through her story, it's confirming what I think about us Black women, and is that we don't give ourselves enough grace. And if we can't give ourselves grace, if we can't view ourselves as human beings, how do we view our children as human beings? We're gonna now then put so much expectations, and so make the things the world does to us as Black human beings, we're gonna do the same thing to our children. Our children will then do the same thing to the world. And I just want to take a step back, and no one has powers, no one has clues, no one has gems. There's no cape any Black human being is wearing. We're just oppressed, we're dehumanized, and our pain and our oppression and the dehumanization, all these things don't make us any more special. Maybe it's giving some of us strength, but at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and we're trying to figure out life like the rest of the world.
Right. It's also putting like an extra heavy weight that we have to carry along with all the other things that come with just being human.
Like when something bad happens in the world, we're the Black women. If Black women were here, things are like, no, we're not gonna solve nothing. We don't get what's happening. We can't fix shit. Okay.
Always gotta come save the day. Yeah. So thank you for that. Maximone, I want to be able to give you some space to share your experience as a mother too. We've been going at it. We've been going deep, sis, and we appreciate you for just being present during this time. And now we're ready to hear about you. So please tell us a little bit about you and your experience in Black motherhood.
Okay, well, I think I have a little bit of a different experience than most of the women that have been on here. I think someone said that they have a son as well, but I was hearing the first ladies had daughters. My son is a little bit older. He's 6. He'll be 7 in December. I had him pretty young, in my opinion. I was 20, about to be 21, and I'm a single mom. So I also live pretty far from my family. So the whole idea of village and community is something that I feel like I've struggled with. I've discovered that the more financial freedom I have, the more support I have. So I'm also an entrepreneur. So really, I feel like motherhood has taught me, or is trying to teach me, because I feel like there's so many lessons, balance, because I feel like being a single mom, especially of a son, I have to tap into the masculine energy a lot, and, in the beginning of motherhood, I feel like, was it Deja? She's the doula. She talks about how you transition into a new person. And I feel like somebody that experienced postpartum, when I first had Xavier, it was because I was trying to become trying to still be my old self. And that's just not who I am anymore. Now I'm a mom, and we're learning about the divine feminine and the process of creation and nurturing. And one thing that I've learned is that if you don't respect the divine feminine energy, it'll take over regardless. So creating space for me to be nurturing and to be feminine and to be motherly while still being able to handle all the business, is something that I'm learning. Definitely balance. I feel like, in my day-to-day life as an entrepreneur, I'm an astrologer, I'm a writer. And so I study people a lot. And a lot of the themes that come up in my astrotherapy appointments is inner child healing. So I feel like if you look at your child, Xavier has taught me so many lessons about adulthood, really, because we all try to get back to that place, where he's at right now and enjoying his life and being free and expressing himself, and so I'm trying to not, dim his light and still raise him at the same time in this climate.
You've said a lot, sis.
So many things. You said so many things. Okay, thank you for sharing. And there are 3 things that stood out to me that I definitely would love some elaboration on. And then the other queens that are here, please feel free to add into this piece too and share your perspective. But one of the things I heard was, the more financial freedom I have, the more support I have. And so that's one of the things I want to ask to you all, like, do you feel the same way in that sense? And why or why not, right? And what does that say about where we are in the world as just humans and society and all of that? So that was one thing that I definitely would love some more elaboration on, and just like that experience, because there are moms out here who need more support, right, but may not be there financially to pay for more support. And so what does that look like for them as they're navigating to get that before they even have the money? You know what I'm saying? So please share your thoughts on just that piece right there.
You're asking me, or you wanted their thoughts?
Yeah, you or you're welcome to start us off, and then queens, if you want to chime in for your side, like, feel free.
Okay, well, out here, I'm from California, and I moved to Texas back and forth for a little while. But thankfully, when I moved here, I met other single moms. So I have some support in the way that we have children around the same age. And my best friend and me lean on each other a lot, for help with our kids. Other than that, though, that small community that I built, we have to, just moving back recently, I had to join care.com, where I can see background checks. I can get the sitter's information. We can do interviews. And, thankfully, I have a free schedule and no cap on my earning potential as an entrepreneur, that, if I need more resources, I can hustle for it. But then that also comes with, understanding that balance factor again. I still want to be able to be a mom and not just be working all the time. But when I was back home, I was very grateful and, thankful to have my mom. She's very, very supportive. Almost to the point, I also take a different, approach to motherhood, where, like I said, if you don't respect the divine feminine and your need for rest so that you can nurture and take care of yourself, I saw my mom do the exact opposite. She was always over giving, and I saw those moments where I would say the divine feminine and her emotions took over, and then we all had to deal with the wrath, so I don't want to be like that, and I put myself first in my self-care, or I try to put my self-care first so that I can show up as balanced as possible.
Thank you for that. I'm pausing for other voices.
No problem. I have a very different experience. I remember as a child, so both my parents waited till they were much older and as financial free as they were. So my mom was in her late 40s, my dad in his late 50s when they had me. Their first child. So I was my mother's first child. So she waited till she lived her best life, made all the money she could make before she had her child or had started having children. That allowed me to never like no was never an answer. My parents, because they were so old, it was almost like I had grandparents. They spoiled the hell out of me. I've gotten everything I needed in this life. So I just always had in the back of my head that's something that I need to, that's something I need to follow through generationally. Make sure financially we're always great. So we're never suffering or struggling. I ended up having a baby as a millennial when this world just hasn't given us millennials any structure to be financially free as the generations before us. And I was so hard on myself for that. I'm like, I remember even being a teenager saying, I'm not having children until I have first million in my account. And so I was so disappointed in myself when I wasn't where I was in my career, financially, and then I had a child. So as we're speaking, I'm still at home with my parents, figuring all this out. And I remember being so hard on myself for that, because I wanted to be that woman like my mother who accomplished everything before I started having a family. But I am now in a space where I understand the beauty in growing up while mothering, because just like you guys are saying, I have an immense village. My parents are so hands-on. My sister is very hands-on, and my partner is very hands-on. So they've pretty much told me, we are here, continue doing you, use us. And you don't need to have $1 million in your account, because you can build that and have your son see you do that too. In your pursuance of your career and your ambitions, that's a woman he's seeing get shit done. And he's going to do that. He's going to know that nothing is a barrier, a family, all these things. And I had to unlearn everything I've learned about the way the world, we live in a capitalist world. So I know we've all heard, poor people shouldn't have kids. Poor people shouldn't bring kids into the world and make them suffer, and all these things that we're hard on ourselves as human beings in a capitalist world. And so unlearning capitalism and unlearning how the world is when it views us as profit first instead of human beings has allowed me to use my village and to use everyone around me. And I'm still gonna make that milli. I'm still gonna. I'm still as ambitious as I am, but I'm not hard or angry at myself. Now I see it in a way that my son gets to see me hustle, so that's something he's gonna learn, right? And he's gonna know that it's awesome as a human being to pursue your dreams and your ambitions. So both me and my partner, as our goals and what we want to, our purpose. We're lucky to know our destiny and purpose and what our skills we have and what we're going to bring to the world. So supporting each other, and that's something I'm very excited that he gets to see, because I find, unfortunately, in a misogynistic and patriarchal world, boys don't get to see men support women the way women get to support men. And I'm so happy that my son gets to see a man support a woman and drive and motivate a woman the same way women have been doing for centuries. So that way, whatever woman or man he gets to be with, he gets that skill and that skill that we've put in him.
Thank you for that. Did you want to chime in?
Geneva asked, how is it being an entrepreneur as a mother? And I know I mentioned in my intro that I don't do makeup now, and I won't be for a while, but I did makeup full time. My 9 to 5s were actually freelance jobs, doing makeup in the malls and different what are those called, department stores. And then I would do the bridal and event makeup. So I was at a point, I want to say in 2018, 2019, I was gearing up, and I was doing so many weddings. I would be doing have bookings pretty much Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single week. And to me, I was yeah, this is great. This is awesome. I'm making money, and then I can, put my kid in little gym, and we can go to the children's museum, and we can do all this stuff. She was my only one. I had a lot of energy. It was fun. But then there was a time when my partner was hey, you kind of work a lot. I feel you're out so much that you're not even really at home as much with our kid. And he was like, I feel like, you know, things are kind of imbalanced. And I had to sit down and I was like, wow, I am putting a lot of energy like into my business. So I had to kind of learn how to reel it back. But then good old COVID happened, and, you know, I had no choice but to sit down because nobody was getting married. So then I was able to put a lot of time and a lot of energy into little Coco, and you know, more time. You know, even everybody was like scared to go to the park for a minute. But when things started to heat up a little bit out here in Washington, I was able to go to the park and, you know, able to color with her and draw and do pictures and like little things that she likes. And I realized I really liked being, I've always told myself that I wanted to be like, have my own business and be like a stay-at-home mom, but like I don't, like, at least not with my child. Like Coco is a lot. She's a lot of energy. She's a lot of kid, and she wants a lot of attention. So I don't think that that's something that I could pour like 100% into a business and 100% into Coco. And, you know, this new baby, Carter, I don't even know how she's going to be yet because she's so young. She doesn't even really have a personality yet. She just kind of eats and sleeps. So the jury's still out on her. But if she's anything like her sister, I'm in for it. So I'm almost happy that COVID happened and kind of forced me to sit down and like really slow down and spend more time and do little things like make cupcakes. And you know, I'm teaching, Coco's 3.5. I'm currently trying to teach her how to like make her own peanut butter and jelly sandwich and like pour her own water, like little life skills that are so small to us because we've been doing them forever. But, you know, she's little and she's excited and she's like, ooh, let me dip the spoon in the jelly and I want to do it. And I'm like, girl, you're going to make a mess. But I have to like kind of learn how to scale it back. Like doing that stuff is so fun to me. And now I'm like, dang, I don't even know if I want to go back to work like ever. I kind of just love being home with my kid. You know, I love, I'm definitely like looking at things differently. I feel like COVID kind of forced me to say like, is this what I want to do? Like, do I really want to be the person out with my own business and my own, like out of, like I wanted to have like a brick and mortar, like salon where I do makeup and I'm like an esthetician and all this stuff. And now I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do that anymore. I don't know if I want to spend that much time away from my kids. Like I kind of just love being with my children all the time. Maybe that'll change when I have 2 of them walking and talking. But for now, that's the thought process that I really enjoy.
Thank you for sharing.
I love what COVID did for, I think, I would see a lot of mothers. It forced us to be mothers. And back to being in the capitalist world, I think a lot of us just had fears of not being financially there and our hustles and our goals and ambitions. And we were just so focused on that. And then when COVID ripped that away, it's like we were forced to just be moms. And I agree with you, Quincy. Being a mom, oh my God, just having, because we had nothing else to do. It's us and our families. It's been us and our families for almost 2 years now. I had to go back to my drawing board and say, okay, this is going to take away from being a mom. I'm not doing that no more. This is going to take away from being a mom. I'm not doing that no more. How can I be a mom at home and work at home? And my priority now instead of my ambitions, my momming came first. Everything revolves around being a mom now, where before it was everything revolved around my ambitions. And I was kind of fitting how to be a mom and work at the same time. But now it's, okay, I'm going to be a mom and everything doesn't matter. I'll figure everything else after that. So I really appreciate COVID for centering my family and my village and my community.
Yeah. And I think that there's like a piece of like personal value that you can reclaim in what happened with COVID, right? Because for a lot of us, you know, it has been like, if I can't buy my kids all these things for the holidays, or I can't do all these things, then what does that say about me as a mom? And like really basing our personal sense of value on those things. And this allowed for kind of a shift to happen where it's like, oh, I can't take you to trampoline world right now. Oh, like we're not doing all these things right now because so-and-so's, you know, job situation has shifted or changed or whatever. And we're finding we're still finding a way to nurture relationship, right? But now in some different ways. And Quincy, like you said, like, oh, we can make some cupcakes. Like, yeah, yes, right? And like sometimes when we've been in such a hustle and bustle of being a mom and being an entrepreneur or being like just having a career in general, we don't like those things kind of get pushed to the side for the stuff that's more urgent and needed at the time. Like, oh, it's time for bed or time for dinner, got to do that, right? All these things that are really based on responsibilities, which is fine. There's like, that's great. And there's something really powerful in being like, we're going to do this thing together just because. Like one of the things that happened with COVID was there was a lot more families being like, yeah, we were at home playing board games. Like, like, I bet you Housebro made so much money.
We started a
So much
collection,
money.
and my boyfriend kicks my ass every single time. I'm like, you're not gonna let me win once? No.
Yes.
How to be right.
So yes. And then Sis Maximone, please add in, like how did things change for you in your journey as a mother when COVID happened?
You know, when COVID happened, I had actually just a few months before March, just when everything kind of shut down, I moved back to California to my family's house. And I wanted to touch on, someone had mentioned, you know, trying to discover my passions and like having a child as a millennial in this era and all of these things and being an entrepreneur. I think that's why I feel like I study my son like so much and in the field that I'm in, because I want to be able to support him in becoming his best authentic version of himself, you know. But when I was back to COVID, I just moved back to my family's house and I was taking advantage of that support system rather than being in Texas, which was a blessing because COVID hit right after that. But my mom also was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so she started going to her chemo treatments and we were kind of all nervous. And I had to kind of make that executive decision on, am I going to put my son in, because he was starting kindergarten. This was his first time going into public school, my first time not having paid daycare. I was looking forward to that. But, you know, like, I had to make the executive decision. Am I going to put him in public school? You know, and they don't know what they're doing with the schools right now. I also am a freelance writer. You know, that's what my 9 to 5 is. And so am I going to be able to focus and do Zoom things? You know, we just had a lot in the air. And so I decided to have one-on-one tutoring with him. And it still freed up my time to be able to work, but I still did have to take the hit financially. And that's, again, circling back to having to do that. But I really feel like that was the best decision that I could have made for him education wise, you know, which is very big for me because I'm very, you know, that's my realm, you know. And so now that he's integrated into regular school, we moved to Texas, he's advanced almost to the point where I was kind of worried, like, are you gonna be bored in class? But we're transitioning back and forth, and it was kind of odd to even putting him in school here. I didn't get to meet any of his teachers when I first brought him to school. It's a drive up, drop off. I didn't meet any of his teachers in person. It was very odd to me. So I set up a Zoom call to talk to them and meet them, you know, but it's just this whole process. One, this is my first kid, you know, now we're school age, and then COVID on top of that, you know, also checking in with him to see, like, is he socializing well now because he's been so isolated. Thankfully, I was super introverted when I was little, so I was really nervous about that. And I remember changing schools when I was little, and I didn't handle that well. He's way more sociable, so he's like taking off. So I'm glad. But I guess just kind of having to make a lot of executive decisions, especially being around my family and not, you know, kind of setting boundaries during that was big.
Right. Ooh, yeah, right. Because everyone's around each other way more.
It was a lot.
It's like, oh wait, like you're not who I knew you as when you had a 9 to 5. Like you're home a lot more.
Yes.
And I'm
mom,
meeting you.
You know, she's like the mom of moms, and I'm just like trying to make it like understand motherhood. And
Yeah.
I look to her a lot, but certain things, especially our belief system, our outlook on spirituality, and like those crossovers, living in the same home of like, are we going to do prayers, or are we going to do, were you trying to do my rituals and things, and also trying, because you know, when I had my, I would say, spiritual awakening, I felt like a lot of that was BS, that my parents did not teach me that stuff, you know, and I was like, I don't want to bring my child into this and have him have his own awakening, and I'm knowledgeable on certain things, you know. I know it's this journey of self-discovery, but that's my main thing when it comes to like financial freedom and entrepreneurship. I want to create a world where he doesn't have to focus so much on the material, that he can have time to explore himself, you know, and that's really, really big for me.
You got lots of hearts on that one. Moms are like, yes, like let our child live so that they don't have to always get used to this thing about, I mean, there is a thing of compromise, there is a thing of balance, right? There is a thing of humility, but like not to the point that it kills their imagination because they believe that the answer is always going to be no, right? And like Geneva and I were talking, and she mentioned talking to another friend who said something about like, yeah, like you know, my family never would always say like, do you have McDonald's money, right? Like, ain't got no McDonald's money, right? And what does that do? What does that do? Because sometimes there is McDonald's money, but if the answer is always expected to be no, like what does that do when you become an adult and you're wondering why you keep telling yourself no for all these things that you actually really deserve, you know?
Yeah. Ooh-wee. Yes, that one. I had the
Yeah.
cheapest in the world growing up, and my mom's favorite line going to any, it didn't matter what store we were going to, any store was, you can get it as long as it's under $2. So I always had that mentality in the back of my mind. Nyla, I feel like you've met my mom before, so like
Yes.
I always had that mentality in the back of my mind, like as an adult, when I started making my own money, like, all right, I can't buy this because it's too expensive. It got to be $5, and if it's not gonna be $5, I can't get it. It's like I had to, at some point, I had to sit there and be like, you know, I'm just not gonna find this for $5. Like that's okay. If I have to spend $20 on something, it's okay. And I also like don't want to, like, I don't want that to rub off on Coco. Like I don't want Coco to feel like she can't save up her money. You know, like the new thing right now is girls, all the girls want to buy themselves like a Chanel bag or like a Gucci bag or something. I'm not into bags, but if Coco ends up being into bags and she wants to splurge on money that she worked hard for, and she wants to buy herself something and say like, hey, I really like this Chanel bag, I want to buy it. If you want to buy it, then girl, buy it, because life is short and you don't know when you're gonna not be here anymore. So it's like what, and then even just, you know, me dealing with my sickness now, sometimes I look and I'm like, what is all this for? Like, some of the society norms, I'm looking at them now and I'm like, some of this stuff is really stupid. Like it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Like I could spend so much of my time just living instead of being in fear all the time. Like, what am I afraid of? Why do I feel like I'm actually, how do I know that I'm going to be here in 50 years to, you know, use whatever it is that I'm saving, or not even just money, because you're supposed to save money, that's responsible, but just, you know, like, oh, I can go on this vacation in 5 years after I do this and I graduate and I do this. You know, I feel like sometimes we as people, mothers, Black women, everybody, like we put all these like stipulations on ourselves on when we can be happy. I'll be happy when I do this. I'll be happy when this gets done. And it's like, no, be happy now, because what if you're not here next week? What if you're not here next month? You know, you plan to be happy in 3 years when you graduated, but what if you don't graduate because you're not here no more? So it's like, why not just, you know, treat yourself a little bit? You know, that's been my motto for the last like few months. Treat yourself, you know, just, it don't got to be nothing special. It could just be getting your favorite candy bar from the store because you told yourself you can't eat candy bars when you were little because you had a complex with your weight or something. So it's okay. It's okay. You know, life is gonna go on if you eat the Kit Kat bar. You like the Kit Kat bar, you had a good day, eat the Kit Kat bar. It's okay. You know,
like eat the dang bar, drink the soda, like do your thing.
Eat that Popeye soda. It's
Right.
okay. In moderation, it's okay. You know, like if it gets to be something where it's an out of control habit, that's a different story. But if you eat salads all the time and you want to treat yourself to some wings, girl, get your wings. And you know what? If you want to eat your wings in the car away from the kids because you don't want to share, That's okay too, because you don't have to
Thank
share.
you. Okay.
You don't have to share.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us this life right now, and just reaffirming to all the folks that are listening is like, yes, free yourself. Any limitations that you're giving yourself on living, like, stop it, and stop it now, because you might not have another moment to stop that. You know, like, and so on that next notion, I want to ask, I think this is the last question for the session, and this is a perfect transition of, what does self-care look like for you all? And so we're talking about this thing of saying yes to ourselves more, and we're talking about this thing of like accepting where we are in our journeys in our motherhood and how we mother and all of that. And there might be moms out there who are like, I hear y'all. You're telling me, give myself grace, say yes, do this, do that. But let's look into your world a little bit. What are the things, a little bit more, because y'all have given us so much today and we really appreciate it. So I just want to name that. We appreciate your vulnerability. And what does self-care look like for you all? What things do you want other sister queens to hear and know around what self-care looks like for you, and how that has changed and developed and maybe even deepened as you have gone in your journey in motherhood?
I'm going to answer really quick, and then I have to go pick up my 3. Honestly, self-care for me is literally as simple as taking a shower by myself without Coco in the bathroom with me, and doing my full skincare routine, again, without Coco in the bathroom with me. Also, I really enjoy taking trips to Target by myself, and like maybe getting, I'm a foodie. So like, you know, grabbing Wendy's or like Starbucks or something like that, sitting in the parking lot, listen to a song, and then just going and perusing around Target and buying something that I really don't need, you know, like another candle or something. That is self-care to me, and it makes me feel so good. And I come home and I'm like, I'm ready to be a mom again. You know, it's so small, and it's, you know, that little trip to Target can take all of an hour. Washing my face takes all of like 5-10 minutes, but it means the world to me, and I love it so much. I've loved speaking with you guys, and I have to go. I'm sorry, but it's been great talking with you guys. I hope we can have this conversation again. I feel like it's really healthy and very, very necessary. It was great to meet all of you ladies that have been on here talking today, and wonderful receiving everybody's input, and, you know, getting little nuggets that I can chew on and think on myself. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, because it's like 6 o'clock.
Thank you so much, Quincy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Pleasure to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
So, ladies, as we are continuing our closeout, we would love to hear your last tips and just tidbits and insights on self-care.
Most definitely. Self-care for me. It's honestly as simple as Quincy was saying, just choosing me, and for me, it's communicating every time I do need that day. So, I haven't figured out how to sleep train the baby yet. Okay, so he still sleeps in bed with me. I'm still breastfeeding. So there are days where I'll just tell my partner. Luckily, he sleeps with my partner as well. So I'll just be like, I need that. I need tonight. And he'll be like, you know, yeah, just go upstairs and I'll put him to bed tonight, and I can just literally be on my phone on Twitter all night and knock out that way. And that alone is self-care. It's honestly the small things. It's communicating with my partner whenever I need a break. And I am very excited and very lucky to know I have a partner who will listen and then step in when he needs to. I haven't needed a lot of self-care, because if I need those days, I use them. And I'm very transparent with myself and my family when I'm just not able to mother. And so whenever I have those days, I take full advantage. If it's just staying in bed all day, if it's just as simple as rest, seeing friends, seeing a movie, smoking a spliff, anything I need to do.
Wait, I just want to reaffirm that and say yes for letting moms know that you can smoke your spliff and it doesn't make you a bad mom. Moms, like,
no, but I will never believe that.
In fact, there's been articles that say it might improve your mothering because it's a stress reliever. So,
telling you, and it works. So, I urge women and mothers to, that's where the whole grace thing comes in. Knowing when your limit is done, and knowing you, and knowing when you need the break, and not feeling bad about it. Don't ever feel bad that you need that break. And so I use my family, I use my support system, I use my friends every single time I know that today it's not gonna, I can't be a mother, I can't be what my son needs. And so and I don't feel bad for it at all. So that's how I take care of myself.
Thank
And
you.
it's been a pleasure talking with both of you and every woman that's been here. I've learned so much. And as I said, the validation in knowing there are other women doing the same work I'm doing makes me so excited for the generation we're all raising right now. They're going to change the world, y'all.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
So tell us, what does self-care look like for you?
I feel like I'm on the journey to discovering what that means for me. I don't feel like I practiced very much self-care before I had Xavier. And so I'm learning what that means. I am learning that I love routine in the morning. I love to wake up before he wakes up and give myself a good hour. That gives me coffee. I can journal. I like to read at least 10 minutes. And if we're doing good, I will meditate, you know? Like,
Yes.
I really
Yeah,
love
and thank
that.
you for thank you for naming that you're still in that journey of discovering what self-care looks like for you. Because sometimes we feel like we have to have the full answer of like, these are all the things I do. And really, like, it's not as much about tools as it is about toys, right? Like sometimes we just need to learn how to play a little bit and figure it out.
I feel like the self-care, it relates to two ideas. One person earlier in the live said learning how to mother the mother. I feel like sometimes when I don't even recognize that it's self-care. Or last night I didn't feel like taking my makeup off. I really didn't feel like it. But then I thought about like if Xavier's face was dirty, wouldn't I make him, wash his face? So like those small things, like she said, doing your skincare routine, uninterrupted is self-care, and learning how to mother yourself when I've never done that before, what was another thing? Oh, I was going to say again with the divine feminine, I feel like one thing I was going to say, I love taking baths. Baths are like my jam, but I didn't discover that until I had a really bad anxiety attack. And the only thing that made me feel better was to get in the water. So again, understanding your body and understanding, before it gets to the point where it takes over, there's your body needs that break so bad that now you can't do anything else, so now I try to plan out time for me to have a nice candlelit bath sometimes, or the simplest days, I'll go get a smoothie and go shopping. I love retail therapy.
And I just want to say too, and I'll just kind of like wrap this up. If there's any last thoughts, feel free to share, ladies. But just to say that, yeah, like it's true, y'all. It hurts, but sometimes we are going to have to get to that suffering's edge. We are going to have to go to a really, really rough place in our life before we start to like realize that, oh, wait, I haven't been doing self-care and I don't know what that looks like. And like, okay, let me pause. What do I actually need right now to get me through this moment? And I think that for me, that moment did happen. And after having my child and being really exhausted, right? Especially the first couple of months, like it can be really, really tough to get enough sleep. And it wasn't until like I realized that, oh, like having a nap, even if it's 30 minutes, does make a difference, right? And actually giving myself space to grieve without feeling ashamed of it and without judging myself or thinking I need to hide it or snap out of it is a form of self-care. Why? Because this is me allowing myself to be authentic so that I don't keep overriding it and it ends up like bursting and coming out, like you said, in that really strong divine feminine energy in another way. And so I just really appreciate the diversity in these conversations and what each of you have shared, and I hope that folks can take some jewels from what all of us have shared for wherever they are in their
I
journey.
have something to add real quick. I was just
Mm-hmm.
thinking about how reflective our realities are, and how we're talking about mothering and mothering ourselves, but just how you said, allowing yourself space to grieve and, you know, to feel your emotions. That's the exact same thing as, loop back to the very beginning of the live, where the first lady was talking about how she wants to create a space for her child to be able to experience their emotions in a safe place. You know, that is literally mothering yourself, which is, you know, the divine feminine in itself, you know, creating space for you to just be, you know, whatever that might entail.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And one last thing that happened for me too was I felt so much shame around the fact that, so there was a transition to where I am now, where there are times where I need to stay up late at night in order to not have a panic attack, right? Like going and laying down in that bed and having all those thoughts and things just generate and not being able to process or move those thoughts, right? Can actually be more harmful trying to force myself to sleep rather than just getting up and going and journaling like my intuition is telling me to do, right? And so this is about like breaking the chains of like whatever beliefs that you've been holding yourself to that limit you from being able to emerge and be able to go through that healing experience, to say, actually, there's nothing wrong with me giving myself what it is that I need, even if there are other folks around, or even if there's beliefs that have been instilled in me that have told me in the past that there's something wrong with me if I need this or I do this. That same thing that you're afraid to do might actually be your medicine, you know? And so if you are a person who gets anxiety at night, yeah, maybe you do need to get up and stand outside in some fresh air for a couple of minutes and take some deep breaths and write it out, and don't feel ashamed of what's coming out, right? Because like sometimes we also don't want to say the negative stuff because we feel like, oh, I don't want to do that because that's going to send me in a deeper spiral. Well, maybe you need to do that because it needs to emerge, and there are many different sides of who we are, and that side of you needs its truth to be known.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't remain fragmented or like deny certain parts of ourselves, no matter how much we feel like it's positive or negative. Like, it's still you. It still wants to be experienced, just like the good parts of you want to be experienced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ladies,
Any
I'm
last
gonna
thoughts?
leave. But this has been amazing. And um, for me, spaces like this are mandatory and they're needed. Spaces to be around other women. I'm from Ghana, and our ancestors, as women, they created community, they leaned into each other, they trusted each other, they loved each other, they empowered each other, and they uplifted each other. And unfortunately, through slavery, through colonization, through the many different ways, society has ripped that apart for us. I'm so happy that we're fostering these spaces again, and we're doing that for each other. And through validating each other, sharing our experiences, reflecting together, I will go to bed today, as I said tonight, knowing that not only am I alone, there are so many other women who think and feel and are doing what I'm doing. And that excites me, and that makes me sleep at night knowing there's a better world, there's a world. It makes me hope. And sometimes that's all we need, hope. And I'm so happy
Right.
to have been part of this space and to meet women like you. I'm so happy for this space. Geneva, thank you for your platform. And thank you, ladies, for doing the work that you do. We need it. And I'm very appreciative of both of you. I will
Thank
be heading
you.
back to my son, and I appreciate so much for y'all listening to me and sharing. And I will
Okay.
be following both of y'all and every woman that was on the stage. I
Yeah.
hope to connect with all of you.
Great. Thank you so
Good night,
much.
y'all.
Have a
Bye,
good night.
everyone.
Max,
Bye.
same to you. Thank you so
Bye.
much for your
Thank you for
feedback.
having me. Bye.
Bye.